There is a plant that triples its mass every single week, not monthly, weekly. It contains 35% protein by dry weight, higher than soybeans. It grows faster indoors in January than corn grows outdoors in July. Asian farmers have cultivated it in rice paddies for 2,000 years as free fertilizer. Yet Western agriculture forgot how to grow unlimited protein in a bathtub. Welcome back to Secrets Beneath Nature. If you have ever seen green fuzz floating on a pond, drop a comment below and hit subscribe. Walk to any stagnant pond in summer and look at the water surface. You will see a carpet of tiny floating plants. Most people call it pond scum and most people walk away. But Vietnamese farmers in the Mekong Delta have harvested this same plant for over 2,000 years. They call it Bao Hoa Dao. They grow it between rice crops. They feed it to pigs and chickens. They use it as free fertilizer that falls from the sky. The plant is Azolla. It is not algae. It is a fern. A floating fern no bigger than your fingernail. Inside each tiny leaf lives a secret passenger, a cyanobacterium called Anabaena azollae. This microscopic organism does something almost no other plant food source can do. It pulls nitrogen directly from the air and converts it into fertilizer. The plant makes its own food while making food for you. Beside Azolla floats its companion, duckweed, the smallest flowering plant on Earth. Lemna minor, Lemna gibba, tiny green dots that look like nothing. But in 1995, the World Bank published a technical paper on duckweed aquaculture. The researchers measured growth rates that seemed impossible, biomass doubling every 16 to 48 hours. The fastest growing flowering plant ever recorded. Here is where the numbers stop making sense. In 1980, researchers Lumpkin and Plucknett published a comprehensive study in Economic Botany. They measured Azolla protein content at 25 to 35% dry weight. Soybeans contain 36% protein, but soybeans require 120 days to mature. Azolla triples every single week. Let me show you the math. Start with 100 grams of Azolla on Monday. By Sunday, you harvest 300 grams. Keep 100 grams to continue growing. Take 200 grams for feed or fertilizer. Next Sunday, you harvest 300 grams again. And again, and again. 52 harvests per year from one initial purchase. In 1993, the World Bank researchers calculated yield per area. Duckweed produces 10 to 30 tons of dry matter per hectare per year. That is 10 times more protein per square meter than soybeans. 10 times. From a plant that needs no soil, no tractor, no summer. But here is what the agricultural textbooks skip: summer. Cultivation of Azolla is actually difficult. Visit any Azolla pond in August, and you will find problems everywhere. Green algae compete for nutrients, aphids cluster on the leaf surfaces, and Azolla weevils chew through the crop. Wild spores contaminate the water, ultraviolet radiation bleaches the plants, evaporation can drain the pond daily. A farmer in Louisiana tried outdoor Azolla cultivation in 2019. By July, algae had overtaken 60% of his growing surface. The warm, nutrient-rich water created ideal conditions for contamination. He abandoned the project by September. Now consider the opposite approach. In 2003, researchers Aurora and Singh published findings in Bioresource Technology. They documented contamination rates in controlled indoor environments. The results confirmed what Vietnamese farmers discovered centuries ago. Controlled conditions eliminate nearly every summer problem. This is the insight that changes everything. Indoor winter cultivation is not a compromise. It is the optimal method. Think about what happens when you move Azolla inside during winter. Temperature becomes stable. Azolla grows optimally between 20 and 28 degrees Celsius. Your living room maintains this range from November through March. No temperature swings, no frost damage, no heat stress. Pests disappear entirely. No weevils exist in your spare bedroom. No aphids float through your kitchen. The insect pressure that destroys summer ponds simply does not exist indoors. Contamination drops to nearly zero. Wild algae spores travel on the wind. They land on outdoor water surfaces constantly. Indoor containers remain sealed environments. The competition that chokes summer growth never arrives. Light becomes controllable. Winter sunlight in Michigan provides 4 hours of weak illumination, but a $40 LED grow light provides 16 hours of optimal light spectrum. Consistent photoperiod matters more than total sunlight. You control the photoperiod completely. Water stops evaporating. Outdoor ponds in Texas lose inches of water every week during summer. Indoor containers in climate-controlled rooms lose almost nothing. The water management that consumes summer growing effort becomes unnecessary. Here is the statement that sounds backward but proves true. Summer growing means fighting nature. Winter growing indoors means controlling nature. Your January heating bill becomes your protein production subsidy. Let me give you the exact method. Container selection matters more than most guides admit. Shallow and wide beats deep and narrow. Azolla floats on the surface. Depth gives you nothing. Surface area gives you everything. Optimal water. Depth sits between 4 and 6 inches, 10 to 15 centimeters. Deeper water wastes space and resources. Shallower water risks temperature fluctuation and drying. Recommended containers include plastic storage bins, concrete mixing tubs from hardware stores, and even cat litter trays for small-scale testing. A 10-gallon container provides roughly 2 square feet of growing surface. This is your minimum viable starting point. For serious production, aim for 10 to 20 square feet across multiple containers. Place containers near south-facing windows for supplemental natural light. Keep them away from heating vents that create hot, dry air currents. A spare bedroom corner works perfectly. A basement with grow lights works even better. Water quality determines success or failure. Rainwater collected in clean barrels provides an ideal growing medium. No chlorine, balanced mineral content, natural pH levels. Tap water works, but it requires preparation. Fill containers and let them sit for 24 to 48 hours. Chlorine evaporates during this period. Water temperature should match room temperature before adding plants. Cold shock slows growth for weeks. Nutrient management confuses most beginners. Here is the paradox. Azolla fixes its own nitrogen from the air. It does not need nitrogen fertilizer. It does, however, desperately need phosphorus and potassium. Without those elements, growth stalls regardless of nitrogen availability. 3 approaches work reliably. Option 1 uses aquarium water. If you keep fish, their waste provides complete nutrition for Azolla. Ammonia converts to nitrates. Fish food residue supplies phosphorus. This closed-loop system powered Vietnamese integrated farms for centuries. Option 2 uses compost tea. Steep finished compost in water at a ratio of 1 part compost to 10 parts water. Strain thoroughly. The resulting tea contains balanced nutrients from decomposed organic matter. Option 3 uses commercial hydroponic solution at quarter strength. Full strength feeds algae competitors. Quarter strength feeds Azolla preferentially. The specific numbers matter. Phosphorus concentration should reach 10 to 20 parts per million. Potassium should reach 20 to 40 parts per million. Iron is essential but often overlooked. Add a rusty nail to your container or purchase a chelated iron supplement from garden stores. Warning: too many nutrients create more problems than too few. Excess nitrogen and phosphorus feed algae explosively. The green slime that ruins outdoor ponds will ruin indoor containers just as quickly. Start with weak nutrient solutions and increase only if growth slows. Lighting requirements follow predictable rules. 500 lux keeps Azolla alive but barely growing. 2000 lux or higher produces rapid tripling. A south-facing window on a clear winter day provides 1000 to 2000 lux. This sustains growth but rarely achieves maximum speed. For consistent tripling every week, add supplemental LED lighting. Full-spectrum grow lights designed for seedlings work perfectly. Plan for 15 to 30 watts per square foot of growing surface. Position lights 12 to 18 inches above the water surface. The timer matters more than the light itself. Set 16 hours on and 8 hours off. Maintain this schedule 7 days per week. Consistent photoperiod triggers faster growth than erratic natural light patterns. Azolla responds to day-length signals. Give it long summer days regardless of the calendar. Starting your culture requires finding a source. Search online for Azolla caroliniana or Azolla folliculoides. Aquarium supply companies sell small portions for $5 to $15. Pond supply stores carry larger quantities. Some university agricultural extensions provide starter cultures to local growers. Permaculture networks and seed swap groups often share cultures for free. Initial inoculation follows a simple rule. Cover 10 to 20% of your water surface with starter culture. Do not cover more than 70% initially. The plants need room to expand. Crowded conditions trigger stress responses that slow growth. Within 2 to 3 weeks, your culture should reach full surface coverage. This is your signal that the system is working. Growth has begun. Harvesting can start. The 70% rule governs all harvesting decisions. Never remove more than 70% of your surface coverage. Leave at least 30% to regenerate. This maintains the exponential growth that makes the system work. Harvest too aggressively and recovery takes weeks. Harvest conservatively and you maximize long-term yield. Harvest frequency depends on growth rate. Once established, most indoor systems support weekly harvesting. Some growers harvest every 5 days during peak production. Watch your surface coverage. When plants crowd and start climbing over each other, harvest time has arrived. Physical technique requires minimal equipment. A fine mesh aquarium net works perfectly. A slotted spoon from your kitchen works almost as well. A small kitchen strainer handles the job for countertop systems. Simply skim across the water surface. The plants float. Collection takes seconds. Rinse briefly in clean water to remove debris and any snails that hitchhiked into your system. Transfer to a colander to drain. Yield expectations follow predictable patterns. 2 square feet of surface area produces approximately 100 to 200 grams of wet weight weekly. 10 square feet produces 500 to 1,000 grams weekly. These numbers assume optimal conditions with supplemental lighting and proper nutrients. Dry weight converts at roughly 10 to 1. 1,000 grams of wet Azolla becomes approximately 100 grams of dried, protein-rich powder. This is the number that matters for storage and feed calculations. Processing determines how long your harvest lasts. Fresh Azolla must be used within 24 to 48 hours, even when refrigerated. The high moisture content supports rapid bacterial growth. Do not store fresh Azolla for extended periods. Drying extends shelf life to 6 months or longer. Spread harvested plants in thin layers on screens or baking sheets. A food dehydrator set between 35 and 45 degrees Celsius produces consistent results in 12 to 24 hours. Oven drying works with careful attention. Use the lowest temperature setting. Prop the door open slightly to allow moisture to escape. Check every 30 minutes to prevent scorching. Sun drying works in dry climates, but it reduces some heat-sensitive nutrients. Indoor air drying takes longer but requires no equipment. Properly dried, Azolla feels crispy and crumbles between your fingers. Store in airtight glass jars or vacuum-sealed bags. Keep away from light and moisture. Dried material stored properly remains nutritious for up to 12 months. Grinding transforms dried Azolla into powder form for easy use. A standard coffee grinder produces fine powder in 30 seconds. This powder incorporates seamlessly into feed mixes and soil amendments. Practical applications determine why this effort matters. In 1994, researchers Haustein and colleagues published findings in Livestock Research for Rural Development. They fed poultry diets containing 40% Azolla. Weight gain matched birds fed expensive commercial feed. 40% replacement from a plant grown in a bathtub. Chicken keepers across the Philippines have used this knowledge for decades. A backyard flock of 12 hens requires approximately 1 pound of feed daily. Replacing 40% means growing 6 ounces of dried Azolla daily. A 10 square foot growing system produces this amount with surplus. Fish farmers use Azolla and duckweed as direct feed. Tilapia consume floating plants eagerly. Catfish accept dried powder mixed into commercial pellets. The protein content matches or exceeds most commercial aquaculture feeds. A backyard aquaponics system can close the loop entirely. Fish waste feeds plants. Plants feed fish. Both feed you. Gardeners value Azolla as nitrogen-rich mulch. Fresh plants laid directly on soil decompose within weeks. The nitrogen fixed from air transfers to soil. Tomatoes and peppers respond dramatically. This is the same principle Vietnamese farmers used for 2,000 years. Free fertilizer that falls from the sky and multiplies in water. Duckweed specifically offers human food potential. The flavor is mild and slightly grassy. Dried powder disappears into smoothies. Fresh plants add to salads in small quantities. Some researchers call it the protein source of the future. Important warning: human consumption requires clean cultivation only. Never eat wild harvested duckweed or azolla. Ponds contain parasites, bacteria, heavy metals, and agricultural runoff. Indoor cultivation in clean water with known inputs produces food-grade material. Outdoor harvest produces animal feed at best. The larger picture explains why this method remains obscure. Modern protein supply chains span continents. Soybeans travel from Brazil. Fish meal travels from Peru. Beef requires 18 months of feeding grain transported from distant farms. Winter in North America means dependence on stored or imported protein. The system requires global logistics to deliver local nutrition. Vietnamese farmers in the Mekong Delta never accepted this model. They grew azolla between rice plantings. They fed it to ducks that swam through paddies, eating insects. They fertilized soil with the excess. A closed-loop protein system operating on village scale for 2,000 years. In 1977, researcher Watanabe and colleagues at the International Rice Research Institute measured nitrogen fixation in these traditional systems. 600 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare annually. Free fertilizer equivalent to hundreds of dollars of commercial inputs, generated by a plant most Western agronomists dismissed as pond scum. This knowledge never disappeared. It was simply overlooked during agricultural industrialization. Tractors replaced water buffalo, chemical fertilizer replaced biological fixation. Global supply chains replaced local production loops. The technology that built Asian agriculture for millennia did not fit the commodity model. No corporation profits from a plant that triples weekly without inputs. No seed company sells annual azolla seed, because the plant reproduces indefinitely from fragments. No chemical company sells azolla fertilizer because the plant makes its own. No feed company sells azolla meal because any farmer can grow it in a plastic bin. The system that promotes profitable agriculture simply ignored the most productive option. But here is what matters for you today. A bathtub-sized container produces 1 to 2 pounds of dried protein monthly. That equals 12 to 24 pounds annually from 20 square feet of floor space. Using electricity you already pay for to heat your home. Your winter heating bill now serves double duty: climate control for your family, protein production for your animals. The cost exists regardless of whether you capture this benefit. While industrial agriculture waits for spring planting, your protein supply triples every week. While feed stores raise prices each winter, your system keeps producing at the same rate. While supply chains strain under fuel costs and transportation delays, your bathtub grows independence. This is not a fantasy of returning to pre-industrial farming. This is a calculation about where your protein comes from and what it costs. A $20 starter culture and a $40 grow light produces measurable output within 3 weeks. The system runs silently in a spare room while you sleep. 2,000 years of Asian agricultural knowledge waited for someone to remember. Vietnamese grandmothers still grow azolla between rice crops. Filipino farmers still feed it to backyard chickens. Chinese aquaculture operations still use it as primary fish feed. The knowledge never left. It simply waited for Western growers to pay attention. You know now. You know the growth rates are real. You know winter cultivation works better than summer. You know the exact method step by step. You know the harvest cycle and processing techniques. You know the applications for feed and fertilizer and food. The plants do not care about agricultural policy. They care about water and light and nutrients. Provide these 3 inputs and they will triple weekly from November through March and beyond. Provide these inputs and the protein keeps coming. 52 weeks per year, every week, forever. Subscribe to Secrets Beneath Nature and watch the next video to discover more forgotten methods hiding in plain sight.